One thing that used to really bug me about jazz guitar is understanding drop voicings. I used to keep hearing about drop 2, drop 3, drop 2 and 4. And then whenever I looked for either in a book or a video for explanation of these chords, I always found it overly complicated, and it can be as simple as this. Using 7th chords, so chords with 4 notes or 4 voices if you like, drop voices mean this on the guitar. Drop 2 means that the chord voicing is on adjacent strings. So it's on 4 strings next to each other. So let's take C major 7, that would give us the following voicings. It would give us this from the E string, then this from the A string, and then this on the D string. So that's drop 2 in root position, C major 7. Now drop 3, you have the bass note and then you miss a string, then you have the other 3 notes. So take the same chord, C major 7, we can do it there on the E string, so you notice we're missing the A string there, and then we can also do it down here on the A string, this time we missed the D string. So drop 2 is on adjacent strings, drop 3 you have a bass note, then you skip a string, then you have the 3 notes on consecutive strings. And finally with drop 2 and 4, what you have is 2 pairs of strings with a string not played between them, so like this. So we've got this C major 7 here, we've got 2 notes on E and A, and then you miss the D string, and then you've got 2 notes on G and B. Similarly we could do it down here. You can tell I don't use this shape so often. So this is bass note on the A string, we've got a note on the D string, miss the G string, then we've got a note on the B, and a note on the E. If you've been playing jazz for a little while, or even if from other genres, you will have been playing drop voicings unknowingly. And take this very vanilla way of playing a 2-5-1. And what I just played there was a drop 2 D minor 7, a drop 3 G7, and a drop 2 C major 7. Now, I never used to think of it like, but starting to get into these drop voicings and understanding them, what it does, it just expands what you can do with your rhythm guitar playing, and you can obviously also use these in your soloing too. Earlier I illustrated the difference between drop 2, drop 3 and drop 2 and 4 chords. Now I wouldn't try and tackle these all at once, so we're going to start with drop 2 today. And your goal from this lesson is to learn drop 2 voicings of the chords in the key of C major. So we're going to take the chords in C major, so C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G7, A minor 7, B minor 7 flat 5, C major 7. So what are the shapes? Well, on each string set, so on EADG or ADGB or DGBE, we can play 4 versions of the same chord. So I put this table on the screen, and this is the important thing with the drop voicings. They're going in this order: 1 5 7 3, 3 7 1 5, 5 1 3 7, and then 7 3 5 1. Everything you see on the screen is all available as a PDF. Check the link in the description below. Now I've color coded all of the chords on the PDF. I've color coded them as follows. So the one in root position, so with the, say for C major 7 with C in the bass, is in red. The one with the 3rd in the bass with E in respect to C major 7, that's an E, is black, and then the 5th in the bass is orange, so that's a G for C major 7, and then the 7th in the bass is blue, so a B for C major 7. And I've color coded them like that through all of the PDFs. Let's do C major 7 on the A string first, so that's with the bass note on the A string. So we're using strings A, D, G, B. So the first shape goes like this, and you'll be used to this, I'm sure you've played that before. So this is going root 5th, 7, 3, C, G, B, E. We move to the second shape. Now this shape's quite a challenging one, you have to notice how I'm fingering it. And this is going 3, 7, 1, 5. And I think this one sounds super cool because the B and the C are next to each other. They're in the middle and they're, you know, very close intervals, so that's why it sounds like that. So we got root position. And then when I move up to the next shape, you know, the order of the notes in this chord, C, E, G, B, on each string you move up to the next note in the chord. So if I've got C on the A string here, in the next shape it moves up to an E. I've got a G here on the D string, in the next shape it moves up to a B, and that's happening every time we go up the neck. So here we go, this is 3, 7, 1, 5. Move up to the next shape where we've got the 5th in the bass, we're going 5, 1, 3, 7. And then finally we have the 7th in the bass, and we're going to go 7, 3, 5, 1. Quite a tense one with the 7th in the bass. So that gave us now you might find some of these shapes, particularly that second one with the E in the bass, you notice I'm adjusting my hand when my thumb might drop behind the neck. Sometimes I might drop my left shoulder a little bit to get into the chords. That one in particular took me a little while to get used to, just with all of these, you know, horrible stretches. I mean, that's what I look like from behind. You want to try and keep the wrist as neutral as possible. You don't want to get into stuff like that. They might need a little bend in it, but try to avoid anything like that because you put pressure on your wrist. So with any of these difficult shapes, the thumb or maybe tucking your arm into your body or dropping your shoulder can really help get into them. So those are the major 7 shapes on the A string, sorry. So let's do the ones on the D string now. So these sound great in chord melody, by the way, or just sort of sustained, you know, if you've got a piano player playing with you. So here we go. Again, we're doing the same, exactly the same ingredients, C, E, G, B, and they're actually going in exactly the same order. 1, 5, 7, 3, same as this, 1, 5, 7, 3. The next shape's going to do the same. And we can do it up here, or we can do it down here. So that's with E in the bass, so we've got, or this one, same thing, octave lower. Next shape is with the 5th in the bass, it's going 5, 1, 3, 7, and then we've got the 7th in the bass, 7, 3, 5, 1. Hopefully you can see that the important thing to notice there, comparing those 2 sets of drop voicings, is the fact that they're actually doing the same thing. Take the A string first one, C major 7, 1, 5, 7, 3, move to the D string one, 1, 5, 7, 3, and that's the same for all the voicings. Take the second one with the E in the bass, 3, 7, 1, 5, 3, 7, 1, 5. Now, so we've done the drop to C major 7 on the, with the bass note on the A string, with the bass note on the D string. We've just got the E string left. Now, I don't use these as often. That's why I've shown you this one last, because those 4 notes on the E, A, D and G string, it's very bass heavy. It gives it a different timbre. It's the sort of thing I'd use to sustain. I don't use in rhythm guitar so much, and you'll probably see why. So here's the shapes, and it's the same distribution. As in, this is exactly the same, you know, order, root, 5th, 7, 3, as the first shape on the A string and the D string. So we've got this. And the second shape with the E is as difficult as some of the other ones. That's a tricky one to get into. And then finally this one, I really like this one. You know, as a finishing chord or sustained over someone else playing, that could be really useful. And finally with the 7th in the bass, very gnarly sounding chord. And I think it's amazing that we got this, C major 7, and that we can get all these different sounds by placing these differently on the fretboard. Just with the same 4 notes, we get so many different sounds. So hopefully the obvious thing here to you is that we're playing inversions. Now what's an inversion? An inversion, well, you can play 4 different types of inversions. You can play a chord in root position, you can play a chord in first inversion, second inversion and third inversion. That's when we've got a 4-note chord, like C major 7. Take C major 7, C, E, G, B. Root position is with C in the bass. First inversion is with E in the bass. Second inversion is with G in the bass, and third inversion is with B in the bass. So if that was C major 7, let's think about the chords in the key. So we've got 2 major 7 chords. So F major 7, chord 4, is going to use identical shapes. So, and you could do the same on the other strings. So let's not do that. Let's do the other chord type. So let's do D minor 7 next. So let's start on the A string again. And we've got the same distribution, 1, 5, 7, 3. That's D, A, C, F, and D minor 7 is, you know, root 3rd, 5th, 7, which is D, F, A, C. So we're just moving up these notes, and then this shape, it's a really nice sounding one. Bit of a stretch again. Then we got the 5th in the bass, and then my favourite one on top. I could do an octave there. It's a really nice sound. And something to notice here, hopefully you may have spotted this already, is the fact that D minor 7 is the same notes as F6. So you can use these shapes to create the sound of F6 as well as D minor 7. Do the same on the D string. Nice sounding. And then we can do the same, obviously, on the E string. On the E string it would be root position, first inversion. It's quite a nice one. Now I think think it's really helpful to think of this from a perspective of a key and just get to know all this stuff in the key of C. That makes sense to me. It's a logical way to approach it. So we've just done D-7. Now E-7 is going to use the same shapes. F major 7 we've already talked about, same shapes as C major 7. So let's do G7 because that's got different ingredients. That's got a root, third, fifth and flattened seventh. So we've got on the A string first, probably familiar with that shape, it's like the A7 shape. Then we get the third in the bass, so first inversion. And then we get the fifth in the bass, so D in the bass. It's like an E7 shape. And then finally we get the seventh in the bass. I love this one. That's a cool sound. We'll do the same on the D string. G7 on the E string. And finally, this one's interesting. And then the next chording key is A-7, so that will be the same shapes as D-7 and E-7. And leaves our last chord B-7 flat 5. So let's start on the A string again. Probably familiar with that shape. Then we move to the one with the third in the bass. Sounds really cool. And then this one with the seventh, sorry, the fifth in the bass, the flat 5 in the bass, and then the seventh in the bass. And the B-7 flat 5 on the D string, we have. And then B-7 flat 5 on the E string now, so root position. Then first inversion, bit of a fiddly one, and then second inversion, and then finally we're going to the one with the seventh in the bass, which will sound like this. Really dark sounding. So I've split this out into 3 different PDFs. I split it out into drop 2 voicings of C major, starting on the A string, then the D string, and then the E string. And I would practice it like that. So I want you to practice all of the A string bass note once first. So that would work like follows, right? C major 7. Then D-7. And then E-7. And so on, and then you do F major 7, G7, A-7, B-7, flat 5. So often I hear a lot of teachers say, you know, you've got to make it musical. Play it in a song straight away, which I think is a really nice approach, but I don't think it works for everybody. And I actually think, you know, with these chords, some of them are actually quite difficult to do, fretting wise, and like I said, they require you to react differently physically in order to make those shapes work for you. So I think you might find you need some time before you start trying to play music with them, just sort of getting physically used to them and knowing where they are. In my next video I'll cover ways to work with them musically. So I would work in free time first, but just take each chord in turn and just try to know, you know, that this isn't just C major 7 position, first position, drop 2 starting on the A string. It's C, G, B, E, 1, 5, 7, 3, and then on the next one, take your time to get into it, and maybe, like, as you notice, I'm adjusting how I'm playing here. 3, 7, 1, 5, E, B, C, G. Know that, because then the chords make sense then as you go up the neck, providing you know your fretboard well. The next thing to do is try and play it in time, but slowly, something like, you know, 60 or 70 BPM, like 1, 2, 3, 4, next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, next one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you move to D-7, E-7 through all the chords in the key. I think this is a very logical approach. I think it will help you internalize everything and logically organize everything up here. Whereas if we'd said, right, let's just play a song with these, I think you're missing out on the completeness of information and the way the inversions move up the neck. Some really cool observations that you definitely want to know about this also is there's some sort of buy one get one free stuff going on here. That is that D-7 is the same as F6, so those D-7 shapes can work for that. It means you can sort of flip between D-7 and then F major 7. That will give you a whole like F major 7 to F6 sound, which is cool. Like this, if I go F major 7 to F6. E-7 is the same as G6, A-7 is the same as C6, and then B-7 flat 5 is the same as D-6. So there's some cool things there that you want to know. It means you can get more out of these shapes. Now what I've gone through might raise some questions, it might expose some gaps in your knowledge, and I would say probably the most important thing and I'll keep reiterating this in my videos, is the fact you need to know your chords. So if you don't know the intervals of the basic chords, like the basic chords in the key of C, then check out my video on that. You may also experience some difficulty in physically playing these chords and moving between them. So if that's something you need to work on, then check out my #1 chord change method video. Now, just one last thing to say, you probably won't go like this in a song. You see, that's quite difficult, but it's more that, you know, if a C major 7 comes along, I know I've got those 4 places to go. Sometimes I might go between them, that's quite nice. Or even if I go something like that, or so it may happen, but maybe not as much as we practiced it like this. But that is just to get things logically up here and physically able to do them on the fretboard. So next video is all about how to use these musically. If you're new here, please subscribe. Jazz guitar lessons every Wednesday and Saturday. My name's Andy. Thank you for watching and see you next time.